Hello, I'm Chrissy Seaton and welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today's video is going to be the fourth one in a series of videos I've done about the books written by Jeremy Haysham. Now, three of those preceding books you'll see on the bookcase here, they were exposés of the Gospels, Matthew, Mark and Luke. Now, I have in my hands now the fourth one, probably his largest body of work, and this is about the Gnostic roots of the Gospel of John. Now, I've reviewed this, and I have to say before I even begin that I was not prepared for, not at all prepared for some of the things I was going to read and the effect it would have on me. And I have to say there were times when I cried and there were times when I wanted to vomit and almost did. Now, for those of you who have now read the previous three, you will have had a taste of Jeremy Haysham's writing and the depth of his research. So before I go any further, I want to tell you that this one alone, this one, the Gnostic Roots of the Gospel of John, this book is the largest book, but it took 7.5 years of his life to write this. Now, he did extensive research, as he did with the previous three, but this was a major work undertaken by Jeremy Haysham. Now, my purpose today in doing this video is that I'm not going to ad-lib too much. I'm going to let the book speak for itself. I am going to read some paragraphs, etc. from it, because I just want to give you an indication of what this one is about. Now, bearing in mind 7.5 years is a long time in your life to be devoted to writing a body of work like this. I have to tell you before I go any further too that I have great respect for books, but I can tell you some of these I had to write it over and underline and all sorts of things because I had to come back and reread things, and then at other times I had to put it away for a while. So I would say for those of you who are going to read this is not a novel you can read in 24 hours. This is a 7.5 year body of research and writing. So you will appreciate the gravity of how much this took out of the author's life. So I'll proceed on now. I've interviewed Jeremy a couple of times regarding this book, and while it's impossible for me to go through page by page, there are some things that I think are really important. Now, a lot of what I'm going to read is coming from the introduction, excuse me, because I don't want to, there's so much evidence and references and things for you to follow. I don't want to delve into that because this is a book that you have to take that journey with yourself, and to each of you it will be a different journey. I can tell you it was an upsetting journey for me, and yet I wasn't trapped in some of this that Jeremy is exposing, but it just made me so upset to think that others were. So let me get on with giving you a tiny example of what you will find in this book. Now, Jeremy Haysham is a New Zealand author. I did mean to mention that. Some of you, as I said, will have had these previous publications and gone through them. Now, let me go through a few little things I want to read to you. And you know, and look, there are things you have to come back and read 2 or 3 times. So this is a study book. In my interpretation, I would say this is like a reference book. A reference book that you come back to and refer to. Now, first of all, it says that the Gospel of John was written between 90 and 110 Common Era. And it says here, he continues on, and it was the most theological of all the Gospels. Well, it's a theological apology, I think. That's my opinion. It goes on and says that this gospel is the most disturbing because of the message it is teaching regarding the God of Israel and the Jewish people. All the gospels are the same. They carry the Christian message of salvation, being born again, human sacrifice, hell and damnation. It goes on and says, all the Gospels state that Jesus fulfilled prophecies in the Hebrew Bible. Often they reference where the prophecy came from, and at times it simply says, as fulfilled in the Scriptures. I have tried to find the Scriptures relating to this statement. There are no Scriptures that fulfills the narrative. Therefore, I believe it is a fabrication. There are very few prophecies in the Gospel of John because this book focuses on theology. Its main message is based on Christian theology and ideology. So, yeah, it takes a bit of getting your head around, doesn't it? So let's go on. The Gospel of John that reveals Christianity's true message, Matthew, Mark and Luke lead up to the true message of Christianity. And I call the 3 Gospels the proof Gospels. They are written in a way that tries to authenticate Jesus as the Messiah because they have the most prophecies in them. Furthermore, the narrative of the 3 Gospels and the Gospel of John use the land of Israel as their backdrop for their gospel stories. And then it goes on and says the writers could have used any place in the world for their gospels. For example, the Romans could have used Germania and had a Gaul Messiah. He proceeds on and says the Roman Empire was enormous. They could have chosen any number of countries for their gospel narratives. Why did they choose Israel? Now, this is a key point. Why did they choose Israel? In my view, says the author, they chose Israel because they were the only country that served one God. Now, this is most important. You focus on that strand. Israel is the Creator's chosen people. Their practices and cultures was handed down to Moses and their forefathers and were stubborn in their zeal to serve the Creator. In other words, the one and only God. So you can see why I'm reading some of this, because to paraphrase it, it would lose some of its punch. Goes on and says the Gospels are a biased debate. They are set up for Rome to win. And let me tell you, after going through this book, not once, but several parts of it several times, that is a fairly profound statement. Further to this, I'll read this. Even to this day, and this is something that this book is going to be upsetting for people. It upset me enough. You need to read it though. You need to really read this. So it goes on, this is on page 11 of the book. Even to this day, archaeology and historians still can't fully authenticate Jesus and his advent as real events in history. Times, places, and most characters still cannot be authenticated. For example, the town Nazareth showed up in actual history in the 2nd century, not at the advent of Jesus. Nazareth never existed at the time of Jesus. Now, that's... you don't take the book's word for it. Look it up. Find out for yourself. Nazareth never existed at the time of Jesus. There is geological and historical proof that Nazareth did not exist in the time of Jesus. And yet, this historical fact gets brushed under the scholarly carpet. It does. By now, you're probably scratching your head, I imagine. Now, there's a couple of other things here I do want to... the Gospel of John is different to the 3 proof Gospels. It is similar in format, but it is very different in its theology and ideology. It takes a huge amount of research and study to dissect its hidden messages and meanings. And this, my dear people, is extremely important. Let me continue on. Christianity's true roots and religion is simply Hermetic philosophy, and Christianity's real Messiah, in my view, is Hermes Trismegistus. That takes some getting your head around. I'll read it. Excuse me. I'll spell it. See how upsetting this book is? Trismegistus. Now, Hermes, Hermes, was an incredible philosopher, I have to admit. His philosophy is absolutely incredible. I believe he laid the foundation of many religions today. And truth be known, influenced many initiatives in cult practices. So there's a tie back, for you to understand. Now, further on, Judaism, in my view, is the purest. It has not defied characters. It has not deified characters, animals, and nature. It simply focuses on the Creator as everything, Creator of everything. He is the one and only true Creator. However, Christianity has painted a different image of God, which is the foundation of the Gospels, and or Adonai, I should say, painted a different image of Adonai, which is the foundation of the Gospels. And the Gospel of John is the revelation of Christianity's true ideology. Further on here, the final message is who the real Father of Jesus is. I can assure the reader it is not Adonai of the Hebrew Bible, or some people say Adonai of the Hebrew Bible. When Jesus taught how to pray, it is not Adonai the person is praying to. It is a complete different deity whose existence is from another realm outside of heaven and earth. Now, at that point, it makes you want to nearly throw up, doesn't it? I'll continue on. When the reader realizes, as I realized, meaning Jeremy, the author, realized, when the reader realizes, as I realized, who they are cursing and praying against, it will make the person want to vomit, as I did when I learned who it was. I prayed against, and who it was I prayed to, but it always comes down to the person's perspective in the sense of faith and belief, and whether they can and will want to accept my research and study. I am simply sharing my research and study. It is up to the reader to accept what I have found. Now, let me tell you, this is not going to be an easy journey for a lot of people. It's not going to be easy to read and get your head around. As I said, it doesn't affect me to the extent that it will a lot of Christians, because I didn't sort of have that embedded Christianic philosophy, but I feel for a lot of the Christians that this will affect. So the gospel writers took Satan, they call, from the Hebrew Bible and characterized him as evil. This is not true at all. For example, now, first thing I want to say is we don't say Satan, it's the Satan. The Satan. And you're going to want to pinch yourself, because it isn't who you think it is. It isn't the devil, or, the devil made me do it, Satan that's portrayed in the movies or what have you, because the Satan is a prosecutor, an accuser. So think of a courtroom like you have a lawyer for the defense and you have lawyers for the prosecution. So the Satan is actually a prosecuting lawyer, if you would like to put it in that perspective. That's what he is. And it's the Satan. Calling it Satan is, ridiculous. But he is the prosecutor. So in other words, you've all seen enough TV shows and things to know the role of a prosecutor. The prosecutor presents what they believe is the damning evidence that will prove that someone is guilty. And the defense lawyer has to counter that by producing his evidence that proves the person is innocent. So I want that thing alone, that information alone should really make you now be putting down your book, scratching your head and saying, what have I believed? What else have I been told? So the Satan is the prosecuting attorney, not the person with the stick and the horns that's stoking the flames or whatever. So now I just want to go over here to one or two other little things I want to draw your attention to. Now, further on in the book, this is page 269, but you will come to it. I want to read this. The narrative is now showing conversion, which is the main foundation of Christianity. This is page 269 I'm reading from, the highlighted part here. The narrative is now showing conversion, which is the main foundation of Christianity. The man has converted from the bondage of Judaism, which is the realm of Yaldabaoth. I'm going to spell that word. Yaldabaoth. Yaldabaoth. To Christianity, which is the higher realm of the incorruptible. So let me read this paragraph again now without interruption. The narrative is now showing conversion, which is the main foundation of Christianity. The man has converted from the bondage of Judaism, which is the realm of Yaldabaoth, to Christianity, which is the higher realm of the incorruptible. I'll let you think about that one. Now, I want to come over to so, John's Gospel is definitely a theological apology, and it is the revelation of Christianity's true identity. So we need to be very careful. There's some other things in here too that will upset the reader, I'm pretty sure of that. But I don't want to go on too much. I want you to make up your own mind about these things. But there is some upsetting stuff in it, and I've mentioned a couple of those things. But you need to go through this, and there will be things in this that jump out at you that didn't jump out at me. So, for instance, there's things here that says that Christianity is actually a mixture of many pagan religions. The primary theology of Christianity is Gnosticism and Mithraism. And, that they did exist. There's no two ways about it. So I'm not going to, how shall I say, enlighten people anymore on what I've read, because I really... I don't want to influence you one way or the other, because everyone will have a different interpretation of certain things. But bear in mind, this took this man 7.5 years. I think that that's an amazing dedication to research, and I think that everyone owes it to themselves to find the real answers in this publication. And talk to your friends about it. Perhaps, order a couple of copies, give one to a friend, and don't communicate until both of you have read it and come up with your own interpretations. But I'm just going to say that there's a lot of Christians out there that are going to be bitterly upset. There's heaps and heaps of stuff in here that's really exposes some horrible stuff, and in all conscience, you can't not ask people to read this, because there's been organisations that have been, how shall I say, fooling with your soul and your mind. And when you find out some of the things in this, it will make you feel sick. The lies and the bitter results and things like that. So, this second edition, incidentally, when it comes out, this is the first edition. When the second edition comes out, there will be a prologue where Jeremy will explain a bit more what led him to this and the pathway it took on and with him, and the insight into those 7.5 years of this research. So it's a mammoth work. I congratulate Jeremy Hashim on this work. I think it's going to shake up a lot of people and upset a lot of people. But once you start reading it, you won't be able to put it down. So in the meantime, read it, make of it what you wish, and please take care. And God bless.